The Newberry softball team celebrates Senior Day, and our cameras caught the action. Coach Kiko Santos stops by to talk about the new men's volleyball team. And the cheer and dance teams show their skills in a showcase. All this and more coming up on Wolves Weekly. From the Langford Center studios at Newberry College, this is Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica. The spring semester is down to its last few weeks, and with it, the clock winds down on the spring sports. It's time for the teams to celebrate their seniors, and that's what the Newberry softball team did this weekend, as Lenore Ryan came to town for a doubleheader. Our team was there, and here's their report.
The women's softball team hosted Lenore Ryan in a doubleheader. Our cameras were only there for one game, but captured an incredible game. Lindsay Foster remained on the plate for all 6 innings. In the second inning, the Wolves jumped out to a 1-0 lead. In the bottom of the third, Newberry led 3-0. A 3-run home run allowed the Wolves to take the 6-0 lead. That was until Lenore Ryan went on a streak, scoring 1 in the 5th to gain momentum. They then scored 3 more in the 6th inning, tying the game at 4.
You okay today? Thank you.
Lenore Ryan scored 1 more in the final inning, but it wasn't enough. The Wolves held on to a 5-8 victory.
And welcome back, everybody. And you know, we've always said here at Wolves Weekly that this is a student-run show. And today we've got J.Q. Williams on the desk here with us, and he was one of those students who helped bring you a lot of the coverage, especially of softball games in the past as well. And it is about, you know, getting out there and finding out what to cover and how to cover it. And J.Q., you know, tell us just a little bit about yourself. You know, you're not specifically a communications major. That's the interesting thing. Anybody can come and help if they want to do this and get involved with Wolves Weekly. So how did you get involved, and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and being a student here at Newberry College?
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm a sophomore here at Newberry. I'm a sports management major, and I took this class because it's required for my major. So, and it's been fun being in this class, going out recording different events, and especially softball. Softball has been pretty cool, recording different batters, different games, different pitches, just seeing how everything goes into that is a really good experience.
Now, give us just a little bit, very briefly, like, you know, how do you know what sport to go cover, you know, and then what do you do when you get there? How do you capture a sporting event with one camera out there at a softball game or a volleyball match or something like that?
Okay, so when we get there, it's like we'll find the right angle, per se, to make sure you get everything across all the players, the whole field, and then like you don't want to really record everything. You just want to record like most of the big moments. Like say a batter hits a double or a triple, maybe even a home run. That's something you got to make sure you get. Or maybe like the pitcher, she strikes someone out on like bases loaded. That's that'd be great to have for footage.
Yeah, so you look for those moments in time, I guess, especially when runners are on base, especially, I guess, if you're dealing with, softball or baseball or something like that. Right. And so how have you found it? You said that, did you ever think that you were going to be doing something like that? I mean, you are in sports management, so it's kind of good. You're staying in the athletic endeavor, if you will. Have you worked with a lot of cameras or anything like that, shooting events before?
No, coming into this class, I didn't know what to expect. I definitely wouldn't think that I'd be behind the camera like now or recording different things. But it's been fun. It's been a great experience.
Fantastic. And so now, like I said, you can get that experience not only behind the camera, but now, JQ, you're in front of the camera. So welcome aboard. All right. So that's it. Wolves Weekly will continue in a moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
We are speaking with head women's volleyball coach Kiko Santos. And Coach, I know that right now your title is head women's volleyball coach, but there's going to be a big change coming up with that later this fall. And that's why Coach Santos is here. So first of all, Coach, welcome to Wolves Weekly.
Well, thank you for having me.
And maybe people might not have been out to see a volleyball game back in the last couple of falls, but if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about, your upbringing, where did you come from? You've been here since 2023, so a couple of years already.
Well, where I come from, originally I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, so that's where I grew up. I grew up in a volleyball community. My dad was a professional volleyball coach in Brazil for many, many years. And so I grew up in that environment, and growing up in that environment, you kind of start learning from an early age what professionalism looks like and how those players conduct themselves. I was very fortunate to actually, I became good enough to be able to participate in some of his, albeit women's volleyball, to participate in some of his practices, and he had 8 Olympians on his team from the 84 and 88 Olympics. So, I mean, you can imagine practicing with some of those players, the intimidation. I was about 15 years old. So that's kind of like where volleyball started for me. Just watching my dad and kind of really absorbing a lot of that, a lot of those teachings, a lot of just how he conducted himself and how he conducted a professional practice on a daily basis. And that kind of kindled the interest in me. So like, maybe this is something I want to do when I grow up. So we were fortunate. We moved to the United States in 1988. And I started playing volleyball here and been playing a couple colleges. And I moved to Europe, played professionally in Europe for 3 years. And when I got injured, that journey ended. And so I'm like, well, I'm not finished doing volleyball, so what can I do now with my injury? And so I'm like, coaching is naturally the next thing. So a coach at UNC Asheville in 2000 gave me an opportunity to start there as an assistant coach. I was there for 8 years as an assistant coach. Then I got my first head coaching job, which was at Barry University in Miami. And I was there for 3 years. And then the head coaching job opened up back at Asheville. And so my wife and I had a discussion, we want to go back. And for me, it was giving back to the school that had given me a chance. And so I was there until I had the opportunity to be hired at Newberry College and become the head coach here, where I've been since, as you said, since 23.
What went through your mind when an injury cuts your career short?
Well, I think my first thought was one of panic. What do I do? What's my next step? when you start to really digest, I guess the content of your injury, right? So for me, it was a torn ACL. And I started you just play possibilities in your mind, future scenarios, all kinds of things, which actually creates a lot of anxiety. And so for me, it was just getting clarity on my injury, number one. Two, what are the possibilities future? When I got injured, I was 31 years old. So my thought process was, okay, at 31, I'm still feeling pretty young, pretty healthy. But at the same time, the club could at any minute grab an 18-year-old that was faster than I was, jump higher than I could, and they would be fresh and healthy. And so for me, it was just really weighing where I was and really kind of looking at the possibilities, which is difficult. It's not easy to do, especially my career. I started playing when I was 8 years old. So I'm at 31, you're talking about 23 years of playing volleyball. And so for me, it was just weighing, what do I want to do next? Do I want to continue? Is this something, do I want to pursue this anymore? I have to come back 10 times better. And it just comes to a point where you're like, okay, this is it. It's time to move on.
All right, let's very quickly now get to, I mentioned, it's not women's volleyball coach is not going to be your only title. Now you're going to be director of volleyball. Why is that? Because next year we are going to be starting another intercollegiate athletics program, men's volleyball.
Yeah.
And instead of going out and getting a new coach, why not, right? With that experience and history, Coach, you are going to be also the men's volleyball.
Yes.
How are you going to handle that? And what's been going on right now? Like, what's going to happen here over the summer to get ready to kick off a new athletic program?
Okay, so how it's going to work essentially is I'm in charge of both programs. The staff that we're going to hire is going to be instrumental in kind of not dividing that I'm giving up responsibilities, but empowering someone to have a little bit more. And so more of an associate head coach kind of a position. And the good thing about women and men is that they play in opposing seasons. So they won't be at the same time. There'll be a little bit of a break in between both. But yeah, I think the thing with the addition of men's volleyball is that there's so many guys out there that are wanting to play, that are willing to play, that it's just amazing. The sport of men's volleyball has grown exponentially, and we got to see that. I was part of the NCAA Volleyball Rules Committee a few years ago, and they brought that statistic to one of the meetings that it was the fastest growing sport in the United States, and that it was an opportunity for many schools to empower and grow that.
Yeah. And they are expected to hit the court, as we said, in January of 2026. So less than a year, you got to build a new program and get it up and running, right? So best of luck to you.
Thank you.
And all right, that is, I should say now, Director of Volleyball here at Newberry College, Coach Kiko Santos. Thanks for joining us on Wolves Weekly.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be back after this moment.
You're watching NCTV Newberry.
When you think of Newberry College athletics, so often you think of the traditional sports like football, baseball, softball, and the rest. But also under the umbrella of Newberry College athletics are the cheerleading and dance teams. These teams recently showed their skills at a showcase in Eliezer Arena. Wolves Weekly sent a team to the showcase, and we talked to some of the participants to find out what makes cheer and dance so special.
The Newberry College Spirit Squad is finishing up their season. As preparation for the National Cheer Association and the National Dance Alliance National Championships, they hosted a showcase. But it was so much more than that.
It's just to show people that we're more than just what we are on the sideline. I know that's where everyone sees us and kind of out in the community, but today is a day that we get to show everyone what we love to do. Not that we don't love game day and that we don't love showing up for other people, but today was about us, and seeing all the people that showed up for us today was it was fantastic. Every year our showcase gets bigger and bigger, which is something that I think as a coach I appreciate, because these kids put in a lot all year. People don't realize that we've been doing parts of this routine since August. So we go all year round. We come in 2 weeks early in August, and the only break they get is Christmas break, and we move back in 2 weeks early in January. So these kids are together from August until April, and they'll come back. We'll have a week off, and we have tryouts for our walk-ons, and we start all over again.
This is my second time going, and I'm actually very excited because it's the hardest routine that Newberry College has put out in a very long time, so I'm excited to see what we can do with it.
They feed off the energy, and same thing for when we're in Daytona NCAA Nationals. You know, they feed off all of the energy from the crowd, so as much energy as we can get from the crowd is what they'll put out there.
It's something that I think a lot of people don't realize, because that's just something, you know, it's game day for football season and basketball season. That's where people see us, but competition is where a lot of these kids' hearts are, and so it's really cool to let them show everyone else what they're passionate about.
And now we are back along with another Wolves Weekly production assistant, basketball player James Lavorne. And I'm sure you all know James out from the court. James, welcome, and glad to have you on the other side of the camera.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Like we were talking a moment ago, right? Student run, student led. You all go out there and you cover all the action. Now, you being an athlete, it's kind of interesting, that package that you all just saw about the cheer and dance team. Now, James, you went and covered that for us. And so how is that kind of unique? You know, had you ever been to something like that? And what did you think of it personally as an athlete yourself?
No, I've never been to anything like that before, but it was a great experience. Obviously, we had to get there a little bit early to scout out locations and stuff to make the best film possible. And then from there, we just got as much film as possible and found some interview subjects after, and it was a great experience.
And so I would tend to think that as an athlete, you know, bringing these different sports out, like, for example, the coverage here on Wolves Weekly, and that's part of what we're doing here. And I would tend to think that that's a really good thing, even amongst yourselves. Like, you're an athlete, obviously you're so focused on your own sport of basketball, but now that you're out of season, you're out about doing other things with other sports and all that kind of stuff. And talk a little bit about, is there a real camaraderie between athletes, even if they're totally different sports like that? Or now do you have a new appreciation at the very least for the cheer and dance teams?
Yeah, I would definitely say I have a new appreciation for other teams. Obviously, honestly, I wasn't big on going to other sports events, but being able to do this, I've been able to go to multiple different sports, and honestly, sports I've never watched. So it's been a great experience.
Oh, fantastic. And it's pretty much the whole reason why we're here, to bring you, the viewer, all those different sports that you can cover, that we can cover for you, and then maybe get out there and support those teams and show up and buy a ticket, right? We'll have a little bit more about how you can do that in a little bit. Wolves Weekly will continue in a moment.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it. No way.
No way. No way.
No way. My kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica along with JJ Velez this week. And now let's get to the scoreboard and get you caught up with all the action that took place over the past week. In baseball, the team needing some wins to try and climb back into contention late in the season, but last week they dropped a 16-11 non-conference decision against Mount Olive, but then followed that up this past weekend by taking the series against Emory and Henry 2-1. The Wolves took Game 1 on Saturday by the score of 5-3 and then earned a split of the doubleheader on Sunday, losing Game 1 5-1, but then coming back in Game 2 to win 4-1. Newberry's Jonathan Velez was the player to watch as he went 4 for 6 in the 2 Sunday games. The team record now sits at 22-20 and 11-16 in the conference, which is still in 11th place, but they only have 3 more conference games against 8th place Anderson University this coming weekend at home. The Wolves are just 1.5 games behind Anderson, and a sweep could give them a ray of hope.
In softball, as you saw early in the broadcast, Newberry celebrated senior day with a doubleheader split against Lenore-Ryan on Saturday. The Wolves taking Game 1 8-5 with a complete game effort on the mound by Lindsey Foster. In Game 2, the score was tied late into LR Brooklyn's Open with a 5-run inning in the 7th to take the win 8-3. Newberry moved to 22-27 on the season and 10-12 in the conference with the split. They would now next face Augusta University in a midweek doubleheader and then wrap up the regular season this Friday against conference foe Tusculum. The Wolves will sit in 10th place in the standings and still hold hope if they can get the sweep of the Pioneers.
And turning to men's lacrosse now, the Wolves absolutely dominated the Mars Hill Lions on the road Saturday up in North Carolina, taking the win 19-4. The Wolves started strong, scoring 10 goals in the first half to lead at the break 10-4, and then shut the Lions down, not allowing another goal for the rest of the game while adding 9 more of their own. Liam Volens led the way for the Wolves with 4 goals, while Gage Vigart had 2 goals, along with 6 assists to finish with 8 points for the game. Newberry's record is 9-5 overall and 6-2 in the South Atlantic Conference, and that's good enough for 4th place. They will host another conference team in Lincoln Memorial this Saturday afternoon. Face-off is scheduled for 3 p.m. and after that, they wrap up the regular season schedule against another conference foe, Anderson, next Wednesday.
On the women's side, Newberry hosting Mount Olive on Saturday in a close game. The Wolves trailed by just 1 goal at the halftime break, but Mount Olive poured it on the 4th quarter, scoring 4 goals in the final frame to pull away the win by 5. Serena Elia scored 4 goals for the Wolves in the losing effort. The loss dropped the team to 10-5 overall, and hence the Wolves just the 2nd loss in the conference to go along with the 7 wins. That's good enough for 3rd place in the standing. The Wolves will be back in action this Saturday as they will play at Lincoln Memorial at noon. And they also wrap up the regular season next Wednesday here at home against Anderson University.
In track and field, the Wolves had several podium finishes at the Lenore-Ryan Invite held in Hickory over the weekend. Women's high jumper Isabel Farrup won the gold, clearing the bar at 1.6 meters. Mia Jackson finished in 2nd place in the long jump with a mark of 5.5 meters. The throwing events were also dominated by the Wolves. Andrea Pascual Rivera won the hammer throw, while Irma Watson-Perez finished in 3rd place. On the men's side, Sean Price wins the javelin throw and claimed 3rd place in the hammer throw, while Shamar Brown placed 2nd in the 400-meter hurdles.
In tennis, the women's team swept Carson Newman 4-0 on Saturday. In doubles play, Emma Arna and Renee Dorval won 6-3 on court 1. Lena Sharhan and Hazel Renan won 6-2 at the 3rd flight to clinch the doubles points. Margarita Roshka and Alessia Gamborino were leading 4-3 when play was healthy in their match. In singles, Arnall, Gamborino, and Dorval earned wins to take the match. The men's team tried hard but couldn't overcome Carson Newman's early momentum and lost 4-1. Sedan Reedy won Newberry's only point, but the end of the play halted any chances of a comeback.
And don't forget that you can find information on all of Newberry's teams at newberrywolves.com. There you can find the latest scores and updates, see complete schedule information and team rosters, find out how to get tickets and official merchandise, and so much more. All this is available anywhere you are, anytime you want it at NewberryWolves.com. And you know, JJ, we mentioned you. Congratulations, by the way. You had that nice 4 for 6 in the Sunday doubleheader. Now, you're a baseball player. You know, your team is just, barely hanging on after a pretty good start. And I know you're a little disappointed in how it is kind of worked out here. But, you know, what is your kind of mind thinking right here? You've got just a handful of games left. You still have a technical shot, but it's going to be kind of tough. You know, how are you going to go into those final 3 games?
We're going to get back to work. We know what's in front of us. We know we got a chance. And we're saying the whole season, we got to believe. We got to believe, and we got to fight into the last out. That's the mindset right now. We got to fight into, we know we're going to give everything at that field.
Yeah, and we know with baseball and many different sports, of course, what do they say? It ain't over till it's over, right? And so many things can happen, and that's the amazing thing. And so, again, go to NewberryWolves.com, get your tickets, make sure you come out and support the baseball team. And I know I've been out there, I call some of the baseball games throughout the year as well, and it is one of my favorite sports. And so, Jonathan, just a little bit, just very briefly, you're one of the associate producers of Wolves Weekly as well. So you come from Puerto Rico, you came through, I know, Myrtle Beach early on, and you came to us all 4 years. You're just about to graduate. So what's in store for you? We were just talking about the end of somebody's career. What is in store for you academically as well as athletically?
Well, I'm graduating in May. I'm looking forward to go back to Puerto Rico and work in the TV. I'm looking for probably cover some games, get in the sport, like getting interview after game with players before the games and all that. So that's what in front of me right now.
And of course, Jonathan is a communications major, so we know Jonathan very well. So that's what you can do as well if you come and join us here at Wolves Weekly. And that's all for this edition of Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica.
And I'm Jonathan Velez. Join us next time for more of Wolves Weekly.
Getting you all of the excitement of the game, even if you're not there. It's Wolves Weekly, available on Flow Sports and produced by NCTV Newberry.